Hey, Chef Pete is here today, and you know what I want to talk about? Freezer storage bags and what we do with them. In a well-organized kitchen, we go to the store and we find our protein, whether it's ground beef, ground turkey, it's a whole chicken, it's a roast, it's steaks, it's chops, it's pork chops, it's whatever it is. We buy it when the unit cost, that's what one costs, is the cheapest way if you buy more, okay? So if you get a whole bunch in the package, you can buy more.
5 pounds.
Well, whatever the poundage would be, that's right, Anthony. If it happens to be 5 pounds of ground beef, then you can buy 5 pounds of ground beef if it's a good sale price, right? You can come home and divide it up and then put it in your freezer bags. Divide it up in 5 1-pound packages, or all in 2-pound packages in a bigger freezer bag. So buying in bulk or a larger size saves money, okay? And we need to save money. Constantly look for ways to save money so you can stretch your budget, okay? So you're gonna have leftovers when you make your weekly your weekly meal plan, and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but most of the time you do. And if you're going to have leftovers, what we need to do is come up with a recipe or a way to rework or reanimate those leftovers, because we do not throw anything out. In a good operated kitchen in your home, you don't want to throw out anything. You want to reuse what's left over. You know, make a fresh salad. Take your meat and vegetables, put a different sauce in there, fix them up, and then serve that over rice or whatever it might be. Just be creative with what you do with your leftovers, okay? All right.
So your weekly pasta meal with tomato sauce.
If you make a weekly pasta meal, this is spaghetti, and here I have some different sauces, but you can use the store brand, use whatever brand you can get. These 28-ounce cans are getting expensive now along with everything else. So what you want to do is try to keep your unit cost by what you need to get through the week, stay to your budget, and if you do make spaghetti with meatballs and you have a lot of spaghetti left over, you can make spaghetti with vegetables. Primavera, we call it in Italian. So you can use up your spaghetti, use some fresh vegetables. Remember to try and stay out of the frozen food department if you can absolutely help it, except to buy frozen vegetables. But try to buy fresh vegetables. Look at the cost of things and what you can get that's available in the produce department. So what we have to remember is you have to try to find affordable different kinds of proteins, whether it's beans, whether it's the tofu, for those of you that like tofu, lentils, and ground beef is great. Try to stay in an 80-20, which is like ground chuck. Try to keep your saturated fat as low as you can and adapt a Mediterranean way to cook, so you're doing more fresh veggies, fresh or frozen is perfectly fine, and try and stay away from the ultra-processed, high-processed foods. That's TV dinners, folks. TV dinners is the quickest way to raise your blood pressure because they're loaded with salt and they're loaded with saturated fat, 2 things which are harmful to us.
So if you can't get the fresh, you get the frozen, which are just as good, right?
A frozen cauliflower, frozen broccoli, frozen carrots, frozen peas. They're fresh, then they're frozen, so you defrost them and cook them, and now you're fresh again, right? I know that sounds crazy, but it's like buying a frozen turkey. If you defrost the frozen turkey, what do you have? A fresh turkey, because it's defrosted. Okay, I can twist the logic a little bit, but it does make sense, because it was fresh when it was frozen, you defrosted, and now it's fresh again. Okay, all right, so that's the best way to go, and try and if you're going to cook ahead, try and make batch freezing. We call it batch freezing. So what you do is you need to get a container, plastic containers that go in your freezer. I'm pointing at my refrigerator here. It's our refrigerator. But what you need to do, and if you're going to make a whole bunch of chili, a whole bunch of bean soup, or whatever it might be, that you want to freeze it, divide it up in portions and then freeze it in your freezer. So there's all ways to save money if you buy in bulk. Okay.
Which kind of containers do you use?
They say for freezer on them. For freezer. They're designed for freezer, okay? For freezer storage is what it says. Just like these bags are designed for freezer storage, okay? These are Ziploc bags, okay? And there you have it. So then what you want to do is remember that if you buy oatmeal in a can like this, a container like this, you can make your oatmeal on top of the stove. You'll save a lot of money rather than buying the oatmeal that's in the little bags that you rip open and you add some water to it or milk that's loaded with sugar and salt. This you season it and you keep your sugar and your salt to the minimum as you go. All right, the same thing if you're going to do what I do here. Not everybody can do this, but what I do is I make fresh bread once a week. This is a wheat bread.
Sourdough.
But it's sourdough, okay? So you can make a sourdough starter or just make a regular wheat bread, okay?
Bring that closer.
And here it is. Obviously you can see we've already been eating it. It's delicious with warmed up in butter.
Whole wheat sourdough.
And this is whole wheat sourdough bread. Okay, so you can make that, and usually you can keep that for 3 to 5 days without freezing it. Okay, and then you need to get yourself some flour. If you're going to do your cooking and save from the ultra-processed foods, remember what ultra-processed foods are, folks. Ultra-processed foods are not dates in a package like this, okay? These are dates that come off a date nut tree, a big tree, a palm tree where dates come off, and these are natural sugar, fiber, heavy in fiber, but they're not ultra-processed.
Oh, those are delicious.
Ultra-processed things we eat a lot of in our society here in the United States, and that includes a McDonald's hamburger. Some folks love them. I won't eat it, okay? Simply because it isn't 100% meat, for those of you that don't know that. So buy ground beef, make your own hamburgers.
Ground turkey.
Or ground turkey if you want less saturated fat, or whatever you would like, okay? All right, so remember, I'm talking about buying things and using things. Buy your spices in smaller containers so they don't wear out their potency, okay? Which means buy them in smaller, they're cheaper this way, and then you can do your seasonings to make your family happy. Buy yourself enough rice to last you a month if you use a lot of rice, okay? And
what kind of rice is that?
This is basmati rice. This is what we call basmati rice. It's lower in the glycemic area, okay? All right, so there we have it. Try and remember to cook as much as you can. I'm not saying you have to do it 100%. Everybody is so busy in their lives that sometimes it makes it easier to order takeout. So there we have it. Okay, so try the Mediterranean way. Shop, make your lists, cook at home. We love you all. This is Peter Carpizzo's out.